Hey everyone, it's Alex, and before we dive right into the decks, there's a couple things I need to say. Now, first of all, I've been dreading making this video, which I know sounds crazy, but my duty to report on the meta has me wrestling with the fact that I've got to include a whole bunch of Zabu lists. Listen, I hope it gets nerfed like as soon as I release this video, honestly, because that'll mean the meta is better for everyone. But in the meantime, my duty to report requires me to have like 2 to 3 Zabu lists in this video here, and I've actually included a couple extra lists to kind of make up for that, so that like for those of you that don't have Zabu, I hope you still get value from it, but like yeah, I hope this guy gets nerfed pretty fast because the meta is getting pretty stale, and I think that's something that a lot of people are very aware of. However, I am trying to create some more value for you guys, so with that being said, ongoing, I'd like to improve this series. We're doing it weekly, and I want it to be the best meta report that it can be. So I'm interested in any feedback you guys have. Much like last week, I'm listening, and I'm going to be making improvements steadily over the next few weeks in order to give you guys the most value that I can. I'm also trying to stay away too much from like these pay-to-win style cards. I know that's a frustrating thing for people, so I'm trying to find creative ways to incorporate more free-to-play friendly kind of deck lists and stuff like that. So I think I'm going to be expanding the scope of this meta report. But for that to happen, I do really need your support by hitting the like button, commenting, and all those types of things that makes YouTube work, because quite frankly, it's all that it cares about, truthfully, and your support means the absolute world to me. So I'm going to be putting the work to give you guys the best meta report that I can. In the meantime, let's actually start talking about these decks because, well, there's a lot of Zabu in them, but I think there's a couple surprises as well. The first deck list we have to talk about today is Zabu Darkhawk. Now, I know that Zabu is a card that is kind of frustrating a lot of people here, but there's no doubt about it, it's a damn good card. From there you have Darkhawk, which yes is a pool 5 unlock, but there's no denying that the Zabu Darkhawk list is absolutely insanely broken right now. If you have all the cards, the kind of deck list that's, you know, kind of the strongest right now is to use Absorbing Man alongside a card like Moon Girl. Now, the nice thing about Absorbing Man is you have your Spider-Man of Absorbing Man combo. It results in like early retreats more often than not, so you're not going to have the highest cube rate, but you're going to have a good win rate. You also have the Rock Slide, Korg, and Black Widow combo, obviously to prevent them from drawing cards and from stuffing their deck, which obviously benefits the Darkhawk. The major combo you want to see here is you want to see Mystique come in after Darkhawk in order to copy the effect. You only effectively lose 1 power. You have Scarlet Witch for the location correction, which is great because, you know, you don't want to run something like a Storm in this deck list naturally. But overall, you want to use armor as well. Something that's great about armor is that it does protect the Darkhawk from Shang-Chi and also protects it from Rogue as well, providing a 50-50 chance that if you have a Darkhawk armored lane, someone throws in Rogue, right? Rogue has a 50-50 hit there, and the other side to it, of course, is that Enchantress just nullifies it altogether, but that's a whole other conversation. Shove is required because you want to get the Zabu on turn 3. Now, this deck list is really meta right now. You are seeing different variations of it. You are seeing a variation where, like, for instance, Absorbing Man is out, White Queen is in, for instance. There are also lists that are running Scorpion instead of Scarlet Witch. But ultimately, it's a deck list that has a lot of variability in it. The major combo pieces, of course, are Mystique, Zabu, Darkhawk, Spider-Man, and Moon Girl. Moon Girl is absolutely required here. Do not sub Moon Girl out, because with Moon Girl, you want to get multiple Darkhawk, and you also want to get multiple Mystique if possible, because you can turn 6 Mystique after turn 5 Darkhawk, and then you have 3 massive power plays on the board. So that's how the Zabu Darkhawk list works. I did warn you guys that we'll be talking a whole lot about Zabu today, and this Dracula list is no exception. Naturally, when you have Zabu, 4-cost cards are extremely high value, and Dracula has emerged as an absolute S-tier card in this Zabu meta because it's so difficult to counter. I mean, really, you can counter it with like Gambit, I guess, if you destroy it. You can also counter it with Magneto, but all those are like kind of tricky, and it's still on the board, except for Gambit, of course. But anyways, I digress. The key thing to understand about this deck list, though, it's all about versatility. It's Dracula hitting, you want it to hit Infinite, but if it hits Red Skull, the key thing to understand about it hitting Red Skull is you don't get that +2 power on the other side. You just get the 15 power. Right? You get the Red Skull power with none of the downside, which is perfect. You also have to understand that when you have Enchantress, not only does it counter the opposing Zabu, which is very popular, the opposing Darkhawk, but when you have Enchantress on turn 4 with Zabu on turn 3, you can actually play Typhoid Mary first, and then play the Enchantress on top of the Typhoid Mary, which nullifies the Typhoid Mary effect, providing Enchantress to take down their Darkhawk or whatever it happens to be, and then opening up your ability to play Moon Girl, and then replicate your hand with like Magneto Infinite, allowing you to essentially set up a situation where you can basically guarantee Dracula hits a 12 or a 20, which is insane. You also have the option, of course, of playing Armor Sunspot, skipping turn 5 and playing Infinite, and allowing Dracula to hit Chavez, which is going to be sitting in your hand or whatever else you have. So there are so many different options here. Naturally, you have the 0 Red Skull play as well. You have 0 Typhoid Mary. You have an infinite amount of options and flexibility with how you play this deck. But the nice thing about it is Dracula is a complete wild card. In the current meta, an opponent seeing Dracula in a lane is going to be nervous because they're always going to expect Dracula's going to hit the biggest thing in your hand, because that's always the way RNG works against me anyway. The idea here is that Dracula is a major threat, and it's going to make opponents retreat, especially when you thin your hand or you multiply things with Moon Girl, ensuring that your hand is filled with amazing targets for Dracula. You know, I was about to say that I was going to cut the monotony by bringing you a Sera Surfer list that isn't a Zabu list, and then I realized something. I've been talking about Sera Surfer for like, I don't know, 4 weeks, and there's actually Zabu-based Surfer lists out there too, but I couldn't bring myself to include it in this report. But honestly, the honest truth is that straight up Sera Surfer is better, honestly. However, it's worth noting that there are so many different variations of this deck list. This is now a shell that is seeing so much variation. You know, I've been playing it with Nakia, for instance, which I thought was really fun. I've been playing it with Groot. There are so many different ways you can play this deck list, but this is like the stock standard list that I think most people can agree on is like the one to play if you don't, you know, really know what's up and you're just like, you know, I just want to play. I just want to make a Sera Surfer list. And I want to play till it gets nerfed into the ground. This is the one you'd play. The hot inclusion here is the Scarlet Witch. This is one that a lot of people don't include, but I'm becoming a believer in this location correction. Now, you don't need Scarlet Witch necessarily because you do have Storm, so you are double dipping a little bit on the location correction, so you can take out Scarlet Witch, you can include someone else. Another inclusion is actually not a 3. People often include Lizard instead of Scarlet Witch. That is often inclusion because you want to have turn initiative, especially on turn 6, because if they drop Cosmo underneath your play, that can be really frustrating. But if you have initiative, you can drop your Cosmo while playing your Silver Surfer safely, right? So initiative for this deck list is kind of really important, and that is why Polaris and Maximus are required kind of cards, because they're 3/5, 3/7. This is huge, right? And you can minimize the downside of Maximus by playing the Cosmo and then playing Maximus on top. You want to have initiative if you can. Scorpion and Lizard obviously allow that to happen, but you know, Scarlet Witch is kind of a very good card as well, but maybe greedy from a location standpoint, but how annoying have locations been lately? So honestly, Scarlet Witch isn't crazy. Naturally, you have your Sera on turn 5, which allows you to play 3 cards on turn 6. Just be very aware of being leeched. That's just an auto retreat. The nice thing about this deck list is, unlike Zabu lists, which you usually snap on 3, you can wait all the way until turn 6, which you don't want to snap on turn 6, so they just retreat anyway. But what I'm saying is you really don't need Silver Surfer until turn 6, whereas Zabu you really kind of need on turn 3, so it can feel a little less tilting to play this deck list. Again, very stock, so many substitutions available, literally any of the 3s, right? Nakia works, Bishop works. I've even seen Zabu, again, I mentioned Zabu's being played in these lists. You know, I do like Groot in these lists as well. Thor's being seen in them as well. I even saw one a few weeks ago where people were playing Swordmaster at higher ranks, because Swordmaster on turn 6, who cares? It's a 3/6 discards a card, but it doesn't matter. You're playing at the end of the game. Much like some people try and hold Maximus till the end, but the current meta is a lot of people are holding Brood until the end in order to kind of like blow up one particular location where the opponent won't really know what's been hit, while trading one with Storm Juggernaut. Anyways, a very effective deck list that is still one of the top in the current meta. As I suggested prior, I wanted to include an additional deck list here this week in order to give you guys some variety with regards to the meta, but unfortunately, guess what? Zabu's still in it. And I know it's annoying, but I have to show you what the meta is. And right now, Zabu Zero Shuri is the next step in terms of the meta deck list right now. And I know it's frustrating, but basically Zabu dropping the 4-cost cards to 2, even if you have a Maximus as a value play, like this deck list wants initiative as well. The major reason why is because you want to dodge like the Shang-Chi plays on turn 6, so you want the initiative. So what you're doing is you want Maximus if you don't have Zabu, you Shuri, you can hit Shuri with Atuma, which is great. You can play that in the armored lane, or you can play it individually, but usually in armor. You can hit it with the Typhoid Mary, but of course you have the zero play as well. Taskmaster gives you a reveal option. You have Vision, which is fantastic, because if you Shuri Vision, it becomes a 514. You can move it around, tons of value there. Head games being played. Obviously the 530 Red Skull that can get Taskmastered or Zola'd is huge as well. So like there's so many ways you can play this deck list. It's all about the ultimate power. You do want to be very aware of Shang-Chi and make sure you dodge it appropriately. Usually on turn 4, you might even find yourself with Zabu playing something like you know, Shuri into a Tuma, and then your Taskmaster to copy it as well. Or of course you have your zero. So if, you know, let's say you don't have Shuri on turn 4, if you Zabu on the board, you can play something like a zero Typhoid Mary, or you can play something like a Tuma into the armored location. You can drop zero and then play Red Skull on the next turn. But again, that's not what you really want. The key point of this deck list is to use Shuri. Shuri's the one that makes the magic happen, because it obviously doubles the power of the cards. All of these cards really benefit from the doubling, and then you can replicate that with Zola, or you can copy it with the Taskmaster. This is a very reliable deck list that once you start to get the hang of piloting, becomes one that'll win you cubes. All right, now we're talking about our Pool 3 exclusive deck list, and we're talking about Lockjaw. Now, Lockjaw is flying into the meta, and there's so many variations of Lockjaw. You're seeing Lockjaw discard. However, I will say that the Lockjaw on reveal is kind of the most popular right now, especially for Pool 3 exclusive. I do think that it gives you a little bit more reliability. Moving into the new season, you might see some things change, so keep an eye on the future iterations of the series. But right now, what you're seeing here is a deck list that looks like a lot like this. Again, Pool 3 exclusive. It's like Pool 3 heavy, don't get me wrong. Like, you do have Doctor Doom, you have Magneto, Giganto, you know, Dracula. There's a lot going on here, but ultimately, this is a great deck list. The main reason why is because with Thor, you can put the Mjolnir into the Lockjaw, and then what happens is Mjolnir gives Thor the +6, rotates another card. Turn 3, you play Wasp into the Lockjaw in conjunction with one another, and then you can play Jubilee on turn 4, bring a card from Jubilee, rotate out, bring another card in. If you happen to hit Nightcrawler, you can move the Nightcrawler out of the way, play more cards in the Lockjaw. If you pull Vision, you can move Vision out of the way, play more cards in the Lockjaw. Specifically, if you play Jane Foster, not only do you pull Wasp, so you can play in the Lockjaw, you also pull the Mjolnir. There is so much combos happening with this deck. It can feel like you're piloting a casino, but honestly, this is like the high rollers deck list. If you like wake up in the morning and chose gambling, then this is the deck list for you. It's a ton of fun. I love Lockjaw, and I think you will too. For the Pool 2 gamers out there, I've got an awesome Pool 2 deck list for you, and it's Cozy's Wolverine. And I'm giving my boy Cozy some credit here because I think he made a remarkable Pool 2 deck list with Wolverine. I was actually experimenting with deck lists for Wolverine. I saw Cozy's and I was like, damn, Cozy's is better. So I wanted to feature, so shout out to Cozy. You know he's making good content, and his deck list is an absolute banger. And you know anytime I see my boy Devil Dinosaur, I'm going to get excited. But basically, yeah, Cozy's deck list here, I like what it's doing a lot, because not only are you using like high value cards like Agent 13, which is a lot of fun in Pool 2, because like you can literally pull Pool 3, 4, and 5 cards, right? You get to actually experiment a little bit. Just a good card, honestly. Obviously, it feeds Devil Dinosaur. You know, with the Bucky Barnes Carnage Wolverine combination, you can actually, you know, get that Deathlock game going, Carnage. Sabretooth becomes a free play that you usually hold on to until turn 6, which is very valuable. You have Moon Girl as well, and this is key because if you happen to destroy your Sabretooth and it gets into your hand as a 0 cost, you Moon Girl, and guess what? The Sabretooth replicates for free, so that on turn 6, you can play, like, you know, your Devil Dinosaur, and you can throw down all the Sabretooths, or your Chavez and throw down all the Sabretooths, or whatever it happens to be. There's a lot of love for this deck list here, and naturally the key kind of piece here is Wolverine, the newly designed Wolverine, which regenerates at a random location with +2 power every time it's destroyed. I love the card, and this deck list can very easily get it to like 4, 6, 7. Sorry, not 4, 7. It's impossible, Alex. 4, 6 or 4, 8, right? So it's a really cool deck list. I think Cozy did a great job designing, so kudos to him. And you know I'm going to talk to him about it on the next Snapchat episode, because I think the guy's making fantastic decks, and he's doing a great job for the community. With that being said, guys, I have a new video down below. If you'd like to see some more Marvel Snap content, it's right there for you. And as always, hit the like button. Thank you so much for your support of the series. I love each one of you, and I can't wait for you to see you in the next Marvel Snap video.